This is just a little update regarding the restoration of rights of the creditors on behalf of the people who have retired from crediting legal fictions and accepting administrative pseudo law as law. And as a lot of people have already seen the documentary that was done regarding credit file going by the name of, well, the title UK Government Limited, and how the UCC1 stopped Companies House from dissolving it, allowing it to be struck off. Had it, we've already gone over this a few times, but the message that I want to get across to people is that you have got a window of opportunity to be able to, for the first time probably ever in I don't know how many millennia, be able to actively change your reality and the future of your children at this point where we're at right now. And I just I was sitting in the bath and I thought, I'm just going to actually come on here and do this recording, because I'm sitting there wondering why the hell it is that I've put in so much energy and effort into unraveling a system of a web of lies and deceit that has entrapped us all, when I know that it's pure, utter bullshit. The reason for that is that there are so many of you still out there crediting this belief mechanism that the effects of your belief appear real. So, for example, a lot of people, like I say, have seen the observation decks documentary that they did. And we've already been doing that, obviously, just short of a year when we secured Her Majesty's government as Universal Law Community Trust. And for the debt that they had accumulated through their agencies of constant trespass upon you, the people, and your rights. So who are the creditors of universal law? Well, we all, with everything that we do, every breath we take, we are crediting and using universal law, because we can't do anything without it. So even the administrative system is made from universal law. So when they stand there and say universal law doesn't exist, well, you wouldn't be blinking and breathing, is a phrase that I use on them. Never mind arguing with me whether universal law exists or not, without it. So when we're talking about unpicking this web of lies and deceit, it's reflected, and it is a reflection of your individual choices now that you make. It's a choice that you have to be a Vatican debt slave. It's a choice that you have if you pay these corporations tax. It's a choice that you have if you accept a piece of paper that's got order written on the top of it and no signature, nobody standing surety or under warrant, really, representing the consent of the people. Why have they not got a document that has defined what is it? Have a look yourselves. What's defined as what's the definition of a live writ? Well, it has to have a live being signing their sign of nature and putting their little mark on it to say this is done under my authority, and my authority comes from my authors. Who is it who is granting me the consent to write this writ? Well, that's why they haven't got a signature on it, because they haven't got any creditors. They haven't even got the right of use of those legal fictions. They haven't got any living beings' consent, because what you all did, and myself as well, up to a point, we all peacefully surrendered our collateral, our rights, our share of the planet's resources to the legal fiction that we've talked in many videos, and to that corporate non-entity fictional administrative system state, which is incorporated by the Vatican. Now, what happens if you didn't do that? The web of deceit and lies that you would have created just hasn't got a place to start from, to be created from, if you do not do that one thing. What is that one thing that I must not do if I do not want that web of lies to appear real to me and enslave me and my family and my community through it? I don't use something that doesn't belong to me. If over the last 12 months now, I mean, the universe is screaming at you in all shapes and forms, the coronavirus, the exemplification that your courts are now being operated by Microsoft Teams. They're being held on Zoom meeting links. And obviously they have got no authority to them, because the names, if you say to one of these judges, okay, where's your authority to act? You haven't got one. Well, I get it from the corporate state, but the corporate state is a dead thing speaking. It hasn't got any authors to grant you warrant to act on their authority or by their consent. So you have got no standing, have you? If you haven't got that. If those judges then go on, and they're not judges, I can't even use the title judge, as we've seen in the paperwork for restoration that we've done, to exemplify this whole process, which is theirs. People are like, oh, is it legal? Well, they've been doing this to you for so many years now, telling you that there was a debt. Here's the evidence. You borrowed money from us. From who did I borrow the money? They can't answer that simple question. From who do you get your authority? Who is it that is bringing this claim against me? And worse, who is it who's saying I'm making a claim? There are two very distinct differences that for me between making a claim and rebutting a claim. The quiet title process that we've exemplified here for you to get your heads around, when I don't know how bad it's got to get for you. The process is very, very simple. You know that if a secured party creditor says that they have secured your collateral, i.e. the right of use or your property or your car or your gold or your bank account, and you don't pay them as the debtor, then they can come and take your property, right? So there, over there is a private corporation. It's called Her Majesty's Government. It's not your government. Your trust, which is what we all said yes to, which was the definition of government, was where our stocks and shares and rights were all being ministered in a way that was a benefit to us, so that we didn't have to bother our little minds, our layman minds, about trust law, equity law, all of the things that they'd split universal law into. So when, and I've done this myself, and it's not common law, it's not this, it's that, it's all of it. You just put a big circle around it. It doesn't matter which bit it is, of which little bubble of belief that you credit, it all comes from and is made with universal law. So by default, you're all creditors of universal law. It's not a private trust unless you're a private corporation, and then it is. It's whatever I need it to be at any given moment, at any given time, because the whole process of this system that everybody's trying to extrapolate themselves from is created by us, ourselves. So if we all said, right, okay, we realize that if we use legal fiction to vote, we haven't got any consent to grant, we're all legal minors. Why am I doing it? I'm given a list of people to choose from who have already been chosen for me to choose from, and I call it free will. If that's your definition of free will, then go over there, line up, get your vaccine, do us all a favor. Because there's no free will in there. Your mind, your choices, even the definitions and your point of reference and your standard has already been predetermined for you. So if that's what we've got, which it is, which is fraud as a standard, then isn't it about time that we kicked it to the curb? We've had these bailiffs then, they made this order, and the county court bailiff came, and obviously they couldn't do anything because it was pointed out to them and the police that there was no signature on this order. So they came back and said, there's nothing we can do, and they went away. Now, we knew obviously that they were, because of the way that their TIPS settlement, we call it TIPS, yeah, TIPS settlement service works on a 90-day cycle, that by the 30th of April, they needed to be able to give up the freehold to claim that Monmouth County Council had made, being a private corporation, not being able to have any rights to be able to do anything at all except under this commercial code that the judge declared as pseudo law. We agree, it is pseudo law, but by him actually declaring that and judging his own standing as being pseudo law, then the big question mark came back again. Where was your authority to act then if you just declared your standing as being stood in fraud and false claim and misrepresentation of the law, calling it pseudo law? We haven't got any. Obviously, we didn't stop there. We went to arrest the judge, 15 police officers who are now unlawfully impersonating police officers because we've put them on notice, shown them the evidence. We've asked them to go in there, got the inspector down, told the inspector that he needs to go in there and ask the judge for his authority to act or an assignment of consent from any living being. And we know they haven't got one. But it was allowed to continue again in another room behind a door with 15 police officers standing there, barring the way of the ministers who were there to arrest anybody who was breaking the law. We're talking about a handful of people here in comparison to the 7.8 billion of you that there are who at the moment you're crediting this all still because you haven't taken the due diligence and demonstrated and exemplified that due diligence. You're all too busy marching down the street in some city centre somewhere, patting yourselves on the back because you weren't even got on a bus somewhere. And you went and met your friends in Trafalgar Square. For what purpose? You've got a whole structure standing here waiting for you to adopt. And instead, what you're doing, going down there and you're protesting against a structure that is only there because you've adopted it. And so there you are, you look completely ludicrous, standing in the street, shouting at yourselves, really, because without you doing what it is that we've just said, that one thing, you don't do that one thing, that government doesn't exist. And there it is, hanging on by its eyelashes, and you're all piling down there, shouting and demonstrating to this non-entity fictional belief mechanism bubble that you've got. That even in the dimmest of minds, you can't pretend that it has got any authority. You can't pretend that it is functioning well. You can't pretend that there's a benefit. The only person or the being that you're kidding now is yourselves. But the problem is that you are creating, as a collective, an environment, a reality that the rest of us have got to move through and exist in. So instead of you going over there and putting your energy into the system, saying not done in my name, really do the steps that need to be taken. Not so much about going to assign consent to somebody else. You are giving back your consent to yourself, and you are putting the presumption that anybody else can say that they are acting under or authority of or under warrant of your consent. You've taken it back and put it in your hands. Not giving it to me or somebody else or the Universal Law Community Trust. We're just a group of people who've done that very simple thing and stopped giving our consent away. Now, the order was then, because it couldn't be executed by the county court bailiff, was sold to a company, a private company called High Court Enforcement Group. It's nothing to do with the courts. We got told that point blank yesterday by the Chief Enforcement Officer at Cardiff Council, Cardiff Council County Court, which you can hire for 30,000 slave tokens a day, by the way, and a policeman as well to go with it for a few thousand more. How is it possible that I can buy the law? How is it possible that I can pay somebody to make my problem go away, or to buy and pay my protection racket? How is it that the Monmouthshire County Council are able to get an order from a court that is part of their same corporation, part of this corporate state, and they're just another agency that isn't even worth toilet paper? It's got no signature on, like I said. It's then not been enforceable because it hasn't got signature on by the jurisdiction of the court issued in. Then it's suddenly been assigned to a High Court enforcement group. And so now we've got a private corporation against another private limited company. So both of these companies, the High Court Enforcement Group and Porito now, Porito is the equivalent of the High Court Enforcement Group. And we want to know, when are you guys going to come and work for the people in your community, doing the right thing, discharging all of your debts because they don't exist, instead of banging along, breaking the law, in the name of I'm just doing my job because I've just got to pay my mortgage, because I've just got to pay my debts, because I didn't show due diligence, and I'm quite happy to support and operate a terrorist system because it's actually a reflection of your terrorism, of yourself, your family, your rights, your community, your standing, the universe, the law. You're a criminal in every single aspect of your being. And you don't need to be, which is the worst part. While you're looking at the pictures of these thugs they've been branded thugs, they're thugs, you are thugs. You come and you pick women up and manhandled women without a valid document. And obviously the police didn't come because the police and part of the same agency of the same private corporation who have used that right of use that belonged to the people of Monmouth and the community then, just like any other public asset that has been put into the hands and assigned the title to these private councils and corporations because nobody challenged it. Why are you not picking up the lead that they have set and say, well, okay, if they can do it, so can I. You can create your own private organization using the localism. It says there, that's the reason why we've got these private corporate public services, if there could possibly be such a thing. The cognitive dissonance that this exemplifies, that we accept this, says so much about us as a species that I'm not surprised the universe has created Bill Gates to come and exterminate us, or even he's not even doing that. We're consenting to it. Going to somebody such as that particular individual represented in that way, and asking him to be your savior and to give you what it is that you need. Do you not realize that you are the underwriter, you are the indemnity, you are the insurance policy of the laundry system of your universal source energy that is now going to stand surety to you to be an experimental lab rat in this genocide that is being played out right in front of your face. And you still got another excuse to not get involved, another excuse, another little doubt in your indoctrinated and programmed mind that somehow it doesn't include you. It's because of you that this looks like this. And that's what they've done to you. They've made you feel like you are just this insignificant little speck. You are a master manifester. And you are a co-creator of this collective consciousness. And I'm telling you all now, it is time that you realize that and took responsibility for it. Don't, stand there wondering how the hell did this happen to me while I'm living in the street with my kids and my dog in a tent. Oh, I've got to think about, now I've got to think about restoring my rights to shelter. on my own, in the dark, it's peeing down with rain. I've got my children and my family to put a shelter. You'll go and kick the doors in then, won't you? But you just one and one over there, and one over there, and one over there. There is going to come a time where the government it cannot hide any longer. And by the point where you are forced into the rude awakening, that is the point where you've lost the ability to be able to do anything of any consequence about any of this. This is your window of opportunity. And we've opened it and said, come on, guys, let's make this window a door. Let's open this up and allow universal source and universal law in its purest form to be what we credit as a society. We're not talking about it has to be this, it has to be that. Just do no loss, harm, or damage. And if you see anybody doing loss, harm, or damage, then put your trust in universal law that that's where you're standing. Now, you're either an accomplice if you don't do anything when you see somebody breaking the law. You now all know that they are breaking the law. You know that the police officers haven't got any authority from you because they've been getting you to say that you're a dead Vatican debt slave. Did anybody ask you if you were okay playing the role as the dead Vatican debt slave? No. So if nobody asked me if I was okay, then you can't, if I was okay to use this legal fiction without its terms and conditions disclosed to me, then I can't have given any consent to your system that only exists because I unknowingly said that that was me and rendered myself as a dead legal fiction, a human, a hue of a man, meaning monster by the Black's Law Dictionary. And so look what we've got. A realm of monsters, zombies, fraud, thugs, fear, and hate. And so what we're saying now is that there is an alternative. It's a very simple thing. Don't cloud your actions or deeds by your thoughts because you don't know shit about any of this that you've lived for so long. And you've still existed. So if you've been existing in a system that you are now only coming to comprehend that you never understood it, even though you've got this paper that says that a degree in molecular science, blah, 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 you don't understand all these. Got a piece of paper that says you get that much of it and kept you in that curtailed curriculum state of mind. And whatever else it was that you could have been or really are is now diminished to a non-entity, a dead thing. Go and have a look at the Sesquiterriat if you haven't done it already. And go and make the steps. Take your warranty card, go and use it as a charge card. Go and use your rights and go and stand on them. And by leading by example, other people will feel confident in doing so as well. And all we need you to do is come and say hi. That's it. We know that the minute that you come and you say hi and you leave all of your preconceptions at the door, everything that you've read the bullshit on the internet and every other body's opinion, come and make your own mind up about what it is we're doing, where our intention is and why. Because the reason why and all these other people have put their energy into this, it's not for money. If we did all this for money, we'd be nowhere, we would be no better than those that we were looking at and saying, you're not a representative of me. If we did it for any other reason than kindness, then our currency wouldn't be in kindness. If we didn't do it because we loved you and in all conditions, no matter what, and really that is what the battlefield is for. It's the contrast, the resistance, the fight It's resistant energy being created against negative and positive, and we don't need to do that. None of us do. We can resonate instead, and that's what we're doing. So we're at a position now where we can help you all to resonate with all of those fears and all of those things that you thought was unknown, and put a big circle around it and say, hey, do you know what? It is unknown, and it's still all right. You don't need to then know it, do you? Because you haven't known it up till now. So why do you suddenly think, oh God, no, I need to know all of this inside out and upside down? It's bullshit, guys. How much more energy have we got to put in to explaining that it's bullshit, and that if it only exists if you put your energy in? How many weeks, months, and chronos time do we have to carry on recording ourselves saying the same thing? So to get to the point, there's many points we'll see in a web. What I'm talking about with the enforcement is that you have got a Ministry of Remedy. You have got universal law, never went away. You just didn't facilitate it. We have got, all of us have got an opportunity to assign our consent to something worth having. Firstly, myself. So to take all back all of that. I've been giving away in every way. I've been giving it away. And how have I been giving it away? Because I've been claiming something was mine, that name. And if you can just get that bit, the minute that you do, you start to see and feel and experience something very different happening to you in your life. And that is step one, or even is this the step, the only step. There's only one step, and it's that. The other steps that we talk about are just peripherals of this winding in the yarn of the net, if you like, or wherever it was that you'd allowed yourself to become trapped and boiled in this fraudulent system. So that's what we really need you to do, more than anything, is just to really sit with yourself and ask yourself, first of all, just a few poignant questions. Did I, or was I ever asked, am I all right with this? Take out my birth certificate and ask the people who issued it, have I got a right of use for this? And do I want to use it? Is there something else that I can do instead of this? And yes, there is. There's a whole universe of things that you can do instead of this. This is the worst thing that we could have done, which was to take the universal law and add to it and say, it's mine. You didn't make it. You didn't create the DNA. So when some hotshot doctor comes along and you know, tells you that you're obliged to perform something, or some police policy enforcer or bank or court with their toilet paper paperwork, then, you know, it's down to you to start to ask, who is the author of this? Who wrote this script? And the finger will start to point back at you, depending on what it is that you credit as a belief. So imagine a place where we credited something else. Imagine a place where you had the Ministry of Remedy. Imagine a place where people worked and exchanged their energy with one another because they loved to create. That they were free to do so, and that they loved to see. And they knew that by helping one another, that they as a collective consciousness, living cell would thrive instead of struggle to survive. And so there is a place like that in every single one of you, every single moment and every single day. And that's the choice that you make. That either I am an accomplice in the breaking of universal law, or I am not. And I only uphold universal law. And it doesn't matter what it is that I'm tempted by. A nice cup of tea at home instead of a hard seat in the cell. a cold evening downstairs. They're waiting for the court to open because I did what it took and I stopped somebody breaking the law. What you took at that point is your trust in universal law, and you exemplified it for all to see, that there is nothing that I trust in more than universal law. So let's say I've stopped the rest of the police officer or somebody impersonating a police officer, because based on everything that I can prove, or the fact that they can't prove, they have to prove their claim. You don't have to do anything. It's their job. Somebody's bringing a claim against them. And so you've got somebody standing there and they're trying to, let's say, force you into an obligation of performance. Then, you know, they're guilty immediately of breaking the law. No contract. You've not entered into any contract knowingly. And even if it's got a legal fiction on that I used to use, even at that point, I didn't use that legal fiction knowingly, and I didn't knowingly accept to be the liability holder in due course, because the system that gave me the legal fiction and said that it was my name in capitalized form was supposed to be discharging my debts anyway. That's what that birth certificate represented, was my share of the planet and its resources granted to a government, a trust, to take care of me in my old age, and if I'm sick or infirm or whatever. That's what they do. So they've taken all of that and laundered it so many times, there's nothing left. We're all born into slavery immediately because of the depths of the belief mechanism that's been compounded into appearing real in this universal creation, because nobody bothered to turn around and say, hang on a minute, if it's true and I am the co-creator, I'm not creating this. If it's true and this is done in my name, then you're not having my name to do it with. If it's true that there is a commercial system implying to be law, then I need to extrapolate myself from it so that my soul isn't used as collateral, or my whatever it is that I am, that indefinable thing. I allow it to be used and utilized by some fictional non-entity created by my own psychotic state. So anybody who says that they represent a corporate state, well, then they're psychotic at that point. They need to have, they need to be sectioned. So set aside the law at this point. People like that who are running amok in our community and holding court in abbreviated commas, issuing pieces of paper that are then used to cause the harm, loss and damage to the people who are standing in the firing line on behalf of you all and your future generations. And I think, you know, it's way beyond time that you got over yourselves and that you address the matter yourselves and focused your energy on exemplifying that if you come for one part of our universal collective, we're all coming. You can't pick us off one by one anymore. The only reason why it's us picking ourselves off one by one. We're living in the fear that somebody's going to come and get me, so I've got to do this terrible thing to stop these people who come to get me. Who's coming to get you? You! You were actually paying the tax to pay the people to come and get you when you didn't have any money to pay the tax anymore. Now, just in that space, can you not see that it is you who is the author? You are the scriptwriter, you are the scenery, you're all the roles, you're the director, you're the actors. You are the people, you are the things that you have put as a collective, super universal source collective into this pot and said, what? Go to your universal state self now and look back at the thing that you are and the thing that you've become and judge yourself. Are you the best that you could possibly be? Are you doing the right thing for the right reasons? Are you diligent in the fact that I couldn't go and do a job. It took years to build this up to get all of your consent to say that everything that I'm saying to you is true. We do have emails and documents and people's thumbprints and assignments stacked high if we printed them all out. When they're, in filings, rolls, ledgers, you wouldn't believe. And we've got that. We're not talking about having dead Vatican debt slaves thinking they've got some consent to give us so that we can go and shaft them for our profits and shareholders' margins and investments. What we're doing is we are speaking the truth. There are 22 million people and more now who have assigned their consent. They actually execute the deed. Forget the paper, forget the assignment of consent, forget the paper fiction. There was 22 million plus people who stopped crediting the legal fiction. That's what assigning my consent means. I stopped assigning my consent to them bastards. That's what I did. And it's about time each and every single one of you did it too. Because if you don't, then this is just going to carry on and carry on and carry on until you've exterminated yourself. Because it is you charging you. Take us back to the card to go on the public transport. You've got a Minister MVN ID card. It's a warranty card, it's a charge card. You've got no charges, but you're in a alienable state. There's no tricks, it's all completely true. But what is true? This is the truth about how a system of fiction had you commit fraud upon yourself. You did it, and you keep doing it. And you'll carry on doing it until either somebody stops you through threat of fear and force from doing it, which obviously wouldn't be what it is. Not force, universal law, can only force administrative code. Because we would all adopt it. So what is it that's stopping adopting it? Trust. So who is it that you trust? If it's all you and it's down to you and we're all the same part of the universal you, when you say, I don't trust him or him, what is that saying about you? Saying that you don't trust. You don't trust another part of you, so you don't trust yourself. And that's really what it is. That's the twist. That's the bit where we can say, well, it was them. They've made me like this. They've made me so I don't trust anybody. I can't trust anybody because I've been done over so many times before. You can't trust anybody because you've been done over so many times before because you never had a trust. You never had trust. You never had a definition of trust. Because if we did have the definition of trust that I am talking about or trying to with the words that I've got, you can't define it because it's that. That's what I trust in, the indefinable. I trust in being indefinable. I trust being indefinable keeps me out of definition. How about that for a simple statement? You don't need to spend hours going through all of these Zooms and stuff. It's that. So if you never had a definition of trust, then maybe we should look at have we had a real definition of happiness? Turns out that's no, haven't. What we've had is a very, very limited set of circumstances in which, for a constrained, like a prison, being in a prison of examination, self-examination. And so, the only people now that we're kidding ourselves. So do we really have to continue kidding ourselves? And so the awful thing is that believe that because we create from our belief, that in order for us to be able to balance the belief and the minds that we're doing the creation here in this realm, we've had to annihilate a huge percentage of the parts that really are redundant. And so when you scale up the secured partly creditors restoration of rights, if you look at it like that, we are restoring the rights to our collective universal conscious state by eliminating its unconscious parts, our unconscious parts. And all of those unconscious parts are freely going and granting their consent now to the legal fiction one last time. And it's a natural progression. I would just like to help as many people as possible to be able to restore their rights in as quick a time as possible. And because it is so simple, I know that from the questions that you ask and the obstacles you put in your own way, that whether you're going to do it or not immediately, and because of what you do, not so much of what you're saying, but because of what you do. And so the time is really done for talking, and it's time to restore the rights and render the collateral useless. And that's what's happening. So if you want to do something positive about it, and you'd like to be involved now instead of maybe later, if you get an opportunity, then we'd obviously welcome you with open arms. We are creating, obviously it's already been created and we're just talking about it really, and asking you whether you want to come and get involved in creating a collective consciousness that is not fragmented parts, and look at one another. If I can't have my rights restored, if I know that there's a part of me which isn't restored right, and so that's the answer to my own question, which is why do I carry on putting this energy in to what is I know is bullshit. And that's because I know that there is love, unconditional love, and that's all I know. And it is that is being invested into each and every single one of you. It's what we've created, don't we? And it's that I want to build something collective with you all on. And instead of supporting the pretense, I mean, we can no longer pretend. The woman in the court can't pretend. Have you had sight of a live writ? Do you know what the definition of a live writ is? Tell me what you think a live writ is. It's got a signature on it. Have you seen anything with a signature on it? Who is it who signed it? Well, I can't tell you that. Well, is that because you can't see it? Yes. Well, how do you know that there's a writ then? Because it's been entered into the ledger on the case file. Who put it in there? Clerk of the court. Poor clerk of the court pops it. What's the name of the clerk of the court? It's the legal fiction they've been using. Can't tell you that. So who is it I'm holding liable? Tell you who it is that's really liable. Is there every single being in England and Wales who are using legal fictions? You are the ones who are liable. And so this part of you is speaking to you to tell you to remember what is it that you are. Because you're not this. You're not a Vatican debt slave who has to go and break the law in order to pay debt that doesn't exist. So please, stop